Okay, another Kovacs Report comic book review show. I think we're number 16 now. As usual, yeah, with my buddy, Mr. Jimmy X. Yo, Jimmy, how's it going?
Hey, Angelo. Hey, man.
Whew, another week passed. I haven't been lynched by anyone on the internet yet for saying some of the terrible things I say about comics and creators. So let's
Well,
try
that's good
another
to know.
week of not getting burnt out the stake cancelled before we even get popular by jumping straight in to Animal Pound. Now, before we do this, actually, I should say again, read them if you got them. We will spoil the show. Sorry, we'll spoil your comics. We might spoil the show at the same time. But either way, you better read them because we're going to tell you what happens. And we're starting with Mr. Tom King.
This
Animal
is it.
Pound.
Yeah, Animal Pound issue 5, published by Boom Studios, written by Tom King, who first came to my attention writing that amazing Vision series for Marvel,
That
with
series was
art and
amazing.
cover up. Yeah,
Same.
one of my favorite stories of all time. With art and cover up by Peter Gross, who I remember from The Unwritten with Mike Carey on Vertigo in the early
Mm.
2000s. That's a great book. So, updating George Orwell's iconic allegory Animal Farm for modern times, this book follows the animal uprising of dogs, cats, and rabbits as they take over and live in an animal pound. Lots of the first 4 issues of this book, but if you're familiar with Orwell's tale, you'll know the main beats already. But the dogs remain the dominant power, with the cats second and the rabbits below them. The dogs are led by a bulldog called Piggy, a reality TV star of sorts who rose to popularity and power by cleaning his bottom with his tongue live on the kitten cam. That had been set up previously by the human staff to gain donations to feed the animals of the pound during the pandemic. And raising more money, he raised more money for the pound than any other animal in history with this act. And he was elected to office in a landslide victory with his mantra of "Let's be animals again."
Amazing.
It's pretty obvious that Piggy is an allegory for a certain US celebrity turned politician, and he flaunts his newfound power by brutally killing a rabbit in public, giggling, hee hee, urinating on the corpse, ending the previous truce between the three species. Disturbingly, the leader of the cats, Madame Fifi, has noticed that during one of Piggy's rallies, his inauguration actually, uh, the crowd that was once predominantly dogs has also started to include cats and even rabbits as the pound slowly slips into fascism.
Oh.
This issue starts with a disclaimer, which was kind of shocking, noting that it was produced before the events of July 13th this year and is presented as originally intended, a work of Orwellian speculative fiction. So let's get to the book. We see the pound getting its daily food deliveries using the profits from the kitten cam as Madame Fifi wonders how to stop the rise of Piggy. She muses, recruiting her old revolution comrade Doberman, known as Titan, to the cause, but hesitates and then decides against it at the last minute. Piggy is then elected for a record third term, but afterwards he's assaulted by 3 young tomcats, possibly at Fifi's behest, but the two are executed by dogs before this can be confirmed fully. This
Oh.
puts the fear into Piggy, and he changes the original fundamental law of the pound: the doors will remain open, adding "as needed" to it, hiring a human to open and close the doors until he is attacked. His leg is bitten by Titan while he's out on a smoke break, and Titan is subdued and imprisoned, with Piggy basically selling him out to his human employee. The man leads the dog into a room with the sign "Animal Disposal" on it, after which he's never seen again. In a speech, Piggy tells the others Titan was a bad dog who deserved everything he got. Now, the dogs hate this betrayal of their hero for the revolution and loudly call for Piggy to be removed from office for the decision. In response, Piggy locks himself in the kitten cam room, uh, not even leaving it to defecate. The next day, even more men, paid for by the Kitten Cam Donation Fund, arrive and lock up any dissenting dogs away in cages, and then all the dogs away in cages, and then all the cats, and then all the rabbits, until finally the only free animal is Piggy, pandering to the humans and doing tricks for treats. As Madame Fifi, his biggest rival, is finally removed from her cage by a human and carried towards the same room Titan disappeared into, she sees Piggy as she takes her final journey, looking from man to pet, from pet to man again, how easy it was to say which was which. And then she giggles to herself, he, and the issue and the tale, it's the last issue of the
Man, that's
series, reach their
dark.
conclusion. It was incredible. Wow. I mean, yeah. So this is Animal Farm for the 21st century, and it delivered on every single count on that. I remember reading Animal Farm at school for GCSE English literature, and this brought back all those memories. The artwork is phenomenal.
Oh,
What more can I
wow.
say? Tom King has more than redeemed himself from a couple of weeks ago's Wonder
I've been
Woman
stacking
issue.
it up until it's complete. It reminds you, it gives you a Wii 3 feel to it as
Oh
well.
man,
I reread
yeah.
that
I mean,
yesterday.
yeah, yeah, yeah. As I said, incredible.
Amazing. I'm glad. So that's a definite thumbs up.
Yeah.
Moving on to a book you recommended to me, Marvel Zombies: Dawn of Decay, number
Yes,
one.
yes. But
Yeah.
I was being nice because last time I gave you a Disney book,
Oh.
and I thought this time Angela
Okay, my
liked
friend.
Marvel
Well, that
Zombies, so
is debatable. Marvel book written by Thomas Krajewski and art by Jason Murr. So, like I say, you chose this book for me. Now, back
came
in
from
the
a place of
day,
love.
yeah. Oh my dear. Oh my god. Back in the day, when Ultimates first came out, I read the Ultimate Fantastic Four prelude that introduced the Marvel Zombies, which was really, really good. And
Mark Miller,
that
yeah.
led into Marvel Zombies, the first scene with Arthur Sidiam doing the art, which was really, really funny, really, really good. Since then, there's been loads of follow-ups, none of which I've read. So
Same.
I'm approaching this with zero knowledge of any continuity or anything or any of the storyline. So that's all I had in my mind, and I know it was really, really good. So this one. Oh God, it's so bad. Groot and Rocket Raccoon are in a prison cell on the Raft Island prison in New York, right? They were caught breaking into a high security lab by General Ross. And now the Avengers have turned up to find out why. So apparently Ross had a weapon housed there called Project Terror Laser. And they were there to steal it before anyone else did. So, they didn't want anyone else stealing it and going off and doing nefarious deeds. A likely story, as you can imagine, right? So it turns out that it's actually the terroir laser, right? As in earth and soil. And it's a prototype laser that modifies seeds and the earth to grow in harsh climates for food and farming. So it's actually like a terraforming thing, right? So it's actually a positive thing. It's not a weapon. They basically got it wrong, right? I thought, oh God, that's so twee. Anyway, the Avengers get them freed, and Cap pulls Groot to one side and says, listen, I expected better from you. You know, I understand Rocket Raccoon going off the edge, but you expect better. So, do better. Anyway, side note, Groot previously has caught this cold from stroking a floorkin or something and has green snot coming out of his nose, right? And then he sneezes on Captain America's face. Cap gets ill really, really quickly, yawn. And guess what? Becomes a zombie. But a botanical zombie. He's got all this sort of botanical stuff sort of growing out of his
Oh
nose and his
God.
orifices, right? Oh boy. If only they had a weapon that involves plants. Anyway, let's move on. On the Quinjet, they're all on the Quinjet. Cap basically bites the Avengers that are there. Black Widow, Ant-Man, Tony Stark and Thor. Turning them into zombies too. And then the Hulk, who's currently in his banner, phase, tries not to Hulk out. But there's a big fight. He gets knocked out. Rocket Raccoon gets thrown from the Quinjet, and Groot has to scoop up Bruce Banner, jump out, and save him. So anyway, he does. They land on top of a building. 8 hours later, it's a zombie apocalypse. But Bruce Banner has a plan to make an antidote. If only they could get all the way across New York to his lab at Avengers Tower. So Banner tells Groot that, look, I'm going to have to Hulk out for us to make this journey, right? But I get easily distracted when I'm the Hulk. So you need to make sure I get to the lab. And that was it. By the way, this book is littered with jokes and gags that fall completely flat. It is so forced. It's not funny at all. It misses all the charm of the original series. Waste of paper. Do not recommend at all. And I think a catchphrase of mine is becoming this, which is next. Thumbs down. So, Mr. Event
I've
Guy.
got to do better with my recommendations in future.
You do.
I'm so sorry.
You do. Really, really bad. Anyway, ultimate power. Strength for strength so far. Does number 3 live up to the continuing hype?
It certainly does. Absolute Power issue 3, published by DC, written by Mark Waid, with art and cover art there by Dan Mora. He's doing a nice little homage to a cover of Incredible Hulk there, with Batman
the Wolverine
replacing
Hulk
Wolverine.
cover, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but this is a very cool cover. Nothing resembling it happens in the issue, which is quite a shame. But there we go. The DC heroes have been depowered by Amanda Waller and her Trinity of Evil, which includes Batman's killer robot Failsafe and alien supercomputer, the Brainiac Queen. They've been reduced to just 20% powered heroes remaining. After a devastating attack on Superman's Fortress of Solitude by Brainiac Queen and the brainwashed, reprogrammed, cyber-augmented son of Superman, Jonathan Kent, the Resistance, now led by Nightwing, regroup in the home of the Amazons, Themyscira.
Oh.
This issue begins in Gateway City, where a confused Hawk Girl searches for her allies while being stalked by Walker's armed operatives. This was a throwaway scene, which I hope pays off next issue, because why?
Okay.
Before the scene shifts to the island of Gamora, where the Trinity of Evil are regrouping, and we learn that the Super Son has been searching the globe with his powers for the Resistance. And Failsafe reports some of his Amazos are becoming less responsive. He's planning to do a partial reset if they get any worse. We switch then to Paradise Island, aka Themyscira, now to catch up with our displaced heroes, with Nightwing explaining that although the Amazons are not on great terms with the US government right now, see Tom King's Wonder Woman run for details with that. But Wonder Woman and Wonder Girl were able to buy a few hours of goodwill from the Amazon Queen Nubia. Mr. Terrific picked this spot as it's cloaked from Kryptonian view and infused with magics. When the birds of prey arrive, powerful Barda clashes with Resistance leader Nightwing, saying they should kill Jonathan Kent, but Dick won't even entertain the idea of killing his friend, saying the discussion's closed. Barda tells him, whatever blood the Super Son spills is on your hands. Nightwing continues to rally the troops, with a returned Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, gleefully passing out all the weapons that he liberated from Justice League storage. That was really cool in his own title. That's been a really solid little tie-in in Green Lantern. He said, it's hardly a Mazo level firepower, but you won't be defenseless. Nightwing then sends the Flash to ransack Waller's Hall of Order to find intel on the Amazos, sending Aquaman, Blue Beetle, and Red Tornado off to find John Starr, aka Time Commander, the one who kicked all this mess off in Ground Zero at the Suicide Squad's HQ, telling Donna. And he also tells Donna Troy and Barda to stand vigilant just in case John actually does manage to find the island, while the rest of them will monitor the field and respond to any distress signals as needed. We cut to China and we see Failsafe is threatening the Chinese government into helping them before Waller contacts him to advise that he resets all the Amazos and their glitches, and he explains to her that while absorbing their powers, the robots that include Velocity and Jadestone, if you've been paying attention to Task Force 7, are also absorbing slivers of the hero's morals. Now, Waller is in disbelief with this. You're telling me goodness is a freaking superpower? Failsafe hits the reset, and as a result of this, the Flash, aka Barry Allen, is able to pull ahead of Velocity as he restarts. Flash is then contacted by someone claiming to be a friend. I'm going to spoil it right now. It's 3 reverse Flashes from different points in the multiverse that are basically tricking him into coming to... It's basically a trap at the end of the issue. So Aquaman and his family are at Suicide Squad HQ, managing to subdue backward zombie Superman clone Bizarro with an alien plant, the Black Mercy. Blue Beetle and Red Tornado find Time Commander, but fails to spring him in time as Deadeye shoots Tornado in the head and everyone flees. Then, in a deja vu from the last issue, Brainiac Queen and John Kent locate and attack the heroes' base once again, raising the heroes to the ground. And Barda sees no other way out of this, loads up a kryptonite artillery shell into a massive bazooka, taking aim at the rogue Kryptonian before Nightwing leaps out of the shadows and shoves her, messing up her shot. And Barda is not happy. You've killed us all, she screams, while Dick ignores her and calmly tells John to meet him on his own level to fight him toe-to-toe. As his feet touch down on the floor, John is immediately enveloped in a magic that throws through the core of the island, purging him once and for all from the Brainiac's Queen's circuitry and reprogramming. He tells the Queen, I've been in your head too. Waller lied about us. Every word she ever spoke to you was fake. And then Batman portals in, mother box in hand. Waller yells, stupid boy, what have you done to her? Brainiac Queen is pretty much screwed, questioning her programming, like 10001 does not compute.
Binary.
And Batman hits her from behind with a mother box portal, sending her to Pluto. Someone yells John's name as we see Superman return from his mission. It's happening in his books. And telling his bloodied and scarred son, it's okay, it's over. And I'm so, so proud of you. You've saved us all. The issue ends with Batman mother boxing to Time Commander, telling him, "You're coming with us because you know, don't you? You know how to get everyone's powers back." This was another tour de force. This is 3 in a row
Wow.
from Mark Waid here, and I can't wait for the final issue next month.
Amazing. Like I was on the impression it wasn't that good at the beginning. You didn't sound that excited, but that's a thumbs up,
Hey,
right?
if I see bullshit, I'm going to call it out. But on the whole, I really enjoyed the issue. It was another breakneck widescreen affair.
Brilliant. I love it when there's something's good. Unfortunately, we move on to the Ultimates 4. So Dennis Camp continues.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, Dennis Camp continues his Ultimates.
I still haven't caught up with it.
Yeah, don't bother. But this issue, it's art by Phil Noto. Anyway, let's get into it. Last issue was pretty good, if I remember rightly, because the first two were pretty mediocre in my opinion. Anyway, so I was hopeful
it was your
this
book
trend,
of the week.
It was. I was hoping that trend might continue, especially as Phil Noto is now on the art duties. He's another one of my favourites. But
yeah, good stuff.
Let's get into the review. Last issue, we saw Iron Lad and the gang sign up the Hulks to fight the Maker. A She-Hulk origin story, which was really, really good. And we discovered that Hulk is actually part of the Maker's Council. Okay, and that leads us into issue 4, which is all about Reed Richards. This was a really, really hard slog through the marsh. Rather than take advantage of such a great artist as Phil Noto, you get every page is 4 horizontal panels, widescreen panels, each page, right? And more or less, each of those 4 levels of panels is a different moment in time. So it's 4 stories running symmetrically, right? I'll get to that. In fairness to Phil Noto, he's done his best to make a bad story look good, you know, and I feel like he was a bit handcuffed here with what he could do. It was such a shame. So the first panel is the past, where we quickly see Reed go from child prodigy to super genius, the lead up to the mission into the cosmic storm. It details how Reed's calculations caused a mission failure, which results in Johnny Storm's death during the mission, and then Sue Storm's death from aggressive cancer, which was caused by the mission after they returned a few years later, and Ben Grimm's suicide after he jumped into this orange rock quarry. So we see the descent of Reed Richards into this weird, depressed shadow of a man, you know. The second panel throughout the book, more or less, is how the Maker mentally and physically tortured Reed, right? And even like messed up his face and contorted it and completely fucked him up and made him into Doom. He says, "You're not Reed, you're Doom, you are Doom, you are Doom." The third panel story that runs through is Reed's struggle with the guilt as a result of the failure of the mission and the death of his, his buddies, while he's talking to Iron Lad in the present time. And Doom, who he is now, is trying to figure out how to recreate the Fantastic Four. But Reed's obsession with trying to fix those mistakes he's made is getting in the way of the current plan to fight the Maker, really. His ego seems to be getting them into all kinds of sort of setbacks, and he won't accept help from Iron Lad. So Iron Lad tells him he would be more use if he stopped trying to recreate the Fantastic Four. And Reed's pissed at Iron Lad because he doesn't want to use the Immortus engine, which they can use to fix Earth 6160's timeline. So we've got those 4 panels telling those 4 different stories, all sort of interweaving into each other. I mean, it's a good attempt, right? Anyway, the issue ends with Reed basically saying to Iron Lad, "Close the door on your way out." So Dennis Camp tried this 4 interlinked timeline panel structure, and although it's a cool way to tell the story, it didn't move the story forward at all or enough. It didn't create any excitement for what's to come, and provided very little reward, in my opinion, to the reader spending the time reading it. If he spent more time writing an engaging story, instead of trying to flex how clever he is as a writer with the issue layout, we might have got a real meaningful, Fantastic Four, Reed Richards, Doctor Doom backstory, right? That got us really pumped, like the She-Hulk one. But we didn't. To be honest, it's boring. I'm so bored with this. Honestly, I'm just so bored with it. It's such a wasted opportunity, and I can't recommend it. I just can't. It's really bad. Even the covers aren't great, as well. There's nothing exciting about it.
So did that mean you had to look through the book 4 times to follow
No,
each
so
story?
he interlinks. So all 4 panels on each page all had relevance to that point in time. So imagine each page is one point in time, but in 4 different points in time. So they tell a story of, oh, I'm going to make
Right.
this, and then you see it explode in the second timeline. Then you see him, getting fucked up by the maker, and then the fourth
Okay, I
one you see the
Sorry, I
present time. So
misunderstood.
you see
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
effects.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a nice idea, but it just didn't work. Do you know why? He's not Bendis. I'm going to say it. He's not. He is not Sir Brian Michael Bendis. I knighted him just then. Bendis has a knack of
Few
doing stuff
people
like
are.
that. Yeah, and same with Alan Moore, where he did that with Watchmen, where he interlinked things and he pushed timelines front and back. But this doesn't do it. I am just honestly so bored, and I'm sad. I loved the first, Mark Miller.
Yeah. Same.
Ultimate. I was like, wow, wowed me, and it isn't. It isn't. Anyway, let's move on to another tie-in, right? Batman 152.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a nice
Batman
cover.
152.
Getting some action with
Salvador
Catwoman.
Salvador LaRocca again.
Ooh.
Written by Chip Zdarsky, with art by Mike Hawthorne. Previously, Batman and Ace Thief Catwoman had been sent by Resistance leader Nightwing to find and steal Waller's supercomputer, the Mother Box. Tracking it, they find a boom tube portal that takes them to Waller's family crypt on the faraway dead planet of Caesania, where they're attacked by the Suicide Squad. This iteration of the Suicide Squad consists of Bizarro, a backwards imperfect Superman clone, Black Alice, a powerful magic user, Deadeye, expert fighter and actually Waller's nephew, and Gunsmith, who's a gun-toting merc for hire. Deadeye taunts the duo about their lack of powers because they both don't have any powers. They're both just vigilantes. As Batman decides to distract them, buying time for Catwoman to acquire the Mother Box, taking down Deadeye and with a flurry of punches, while Black Alice pursues Catwoman into the crypt where the Mother Box is housed. Gunsmith shoots at Batman from the crypt's roof, but Batman evades him and yanks him down with his grapple claw, which is really nice to see. Fan of the Arkham games, I used to do that a lot. But then he gets blindsided by a kick from Deadeye. Alice enters the crypt, blundering into a sneaky tripwire that Selina's set up for her.
Oh.
But she can't stop the Mother Box in time as it unfolds the tomb around them, shocking Deadeye as it's housing his mother's corpse. During the ensuing chaos, Batman manages to outmaneuver Bizarro into a hail of Gunsmith's bullets, enraging the clone, who tosses the mercenary aside and goes after Batman. As our Cape Crusader trades blows, Alice points into the distance for the reason for this planet's demise: a swarm of deadly carnivorous flying scorpions.
Oh, really?
Came out of nowhere. The dynamic duo and the Suicide Squad fleeing to the boom tube where the attacking horde can't follow. Gunsmith asks where they've ended up, and then Batman realizes to his horror the Mother Box has returned home. Now, you'll know this is not good.
No.
It's Apocalypse, the planet Apocalypse, home of the new gods. And there's a flash of red light, and Gunsmith is incinerated right before the other's eyes. Batman looks terrified, knowing that the Mother Box is now a beacon for Darkseid.
Here he comes.
And it is indeed he who just smoked Gunsmith with his Amiga beams. Batman is terrified. Run, he bellows, as he just manages to get the Mother Box working in time, teleporting he and Catwoman to the island of Gamora, where they manage to catch a collective breath and thank their lucky stars they've evaded Darkseid and lived to tell about it. The issue ends with them deciding to enjoy each other's company, as seen on the cover, for a short time before returning to the Resistance. And you'll know what happened because I just reviewed Absolute Power issue 3.
You did.
So yeah, this is pretty cool. I enjoyed it more than the last one. I mean,
Flying Scorpions aside, it was all right, yeah?
Flying Scorpions aside, that's a Lobo thing. I blame Lobo for that. But yeah, it wasn't terrible.
Okay, good.
Pretty good.
All right, okay, moving on. So I was excited by this because it said Scott Snyder on it, Duck and Cover #1. So surprisingly, it's on Comixology Originals, which is
okay.
I expected it to be on somewhere like Dark Horse or Image, but
yeah,
it's not. So Comixology is an Amazon company now. So anyway, Scott Snyder writing, Raphael Albuquerque doing the art. So in 1952, the US released a public information film, right, which detailed what to do in the event of a nuclear attack on American soil. The advice was to hide under your desk, lace your fingers behind your head, and the film was called Duck and Cover. So this story starts in Shellville, Colorado. Think racist backwater town living in fear of an imminent nuclear attack from the Russians. You know, the Reds, the commies are coming, right? And you'd be right on the money, right? So in 1949, a young black kid called Delmont Reeves he's been making movies since he's 9, right? He's obsessed with movie making, right? And his father notices this and wants to encourage it. And he's a high school janitor. His name's Sam. So he spends a month's salary on this 16mm home video camera, which would have been quite expensive back in the day. Anyway, one night while making a movie with his friends, long story short, Dell is attacked by a Doberman, right, and loses his left eye. Now, to make things worse, like I said, this story is set back in like probably the worst periods of racism you can imagine, right? So it's highly racist time. And in the hospital, while he's recovering, the police come with the owner of the dog, and they said they're here for an apology. And he says, no, it's okay, right? It was an accident. The dog's a dog. And he went, no, you got this all wrong. We're here to get an apology from you. So it's trying to show that it's super, super racist, right? And it got the message across. Anyway, I know. 6 years later, Dell's love for movies is even stronger. It's been growing and growing and growing. And he's working in the drive-in. He's worked his way up to projectionist. He's about 17 now, so it's 1955, right? And he's got a 1 month left before he leaves Shellville to move to Hollywood to try and, become a big movie maker, director, anything. Anyways, he's at work and like the local James Dean style, badass leather jacket wearing car racing gang is there, the NOs, which stands for nitrous oxides. They're there, right? And they usually ruin the movies with the sound of their cars and everything else. So they're led by Jack Ramirez. She is a high school senior and she's developed this nitro injection system to make their cars the fastest in the country, which is why she's the leader. Which I find strange because I don't think that really would happen. Anyway, they're part next to Pug. Pug's another school friend, sort of school stereotypical Letterman jacket wearing jock, right? Piece of shit. Anyway, there's also that vicious Doberman you can sort of see there as a subtle reminder of what happened to him when he was a child. That will come in to play later. Anyway, a fight breaks out when Pug is extremely racist towards Dell's Japanese friend Oliver. So Dell comes out of the projection room, slugs him. Next thing you know, Pug throws him through the window of the NO's car, right? And a big fight breaks out and the cops turn up. Anyway, the book suddenly sort of restarts in a completely brand new art style now with a whole duck and cover, part 1, melodrama, because they mentioned the word melodrama earlier. Anyway, and they're all in day tension, like detention, but it's a day tension, so it's during the day. I don't know.
Right.
And all of the sort of a few of the characters that were in that fight are there. The hot girl, the jock, this and that. But Dell's not there because he's not a student of that school. But his dad works there as the janitor. And what's happened is because of this, and they're racist, they have put his dad out on suspension. And he's gone there to talk to Pug to say, listen, can you not take this out on my dad? He has nothing to do with it. I'm leaving in a month. Please leave him alone. And Pug, being the racist asshole that he is, says, yeah, I'll leave your dad alone if you apologize for me. And then it gets heated. Now, just before it can turn into a fight and blows are traded, the air raid sirens go off on the loudspeakers, right? And they're ordering everyone to duck and cover. And then you hear bombs falling from the sky and explosions. Anyway, the kids crawl out of under their desks in the wreckage of what was the annex of the school. And it must be Russians, right? And their suspicions are confirmed. They see like Russian MiGs, warplanes in the sky. And floating spherical tentacled death machines with bright red central one-eye style lights with cannons on each side of it, ferrying kids into a barbed wire enclosure that they've made out of the ruins of the school. Anyway, these floating... Yeah, I know. Bit of a tempo change, right? Anyway, these floating death machines speak in a Russian accent and instruct the children to report to this camp. And Pug defiantly decides he's going to run towards these death machines, but gets decapitated instantly. And the others use this distraction to run to the woods. The final page after that, as you turn the book, is that Doberman dog is now this giant irradiated sort of flesh dripping with blood, red-eyed monster of a dog that towers over cars and halfway up buildings and like this, and he just stares at you menacingly. So that's how it ends. To be honest, it was super cliched, super stereotype. I'm not sure if that's what he was trying to do, but it's so overly stereotypical and cliched that it kind of interrupted my enjoyment of the book. I didn't care about the characters at the end of it. I actually wanted them to die. They're all annoying. It's War of the Worlds, but with Russians instead of tripods, basically. Not blown away. I'll give the issue 2 a second chance to see if this is some kind of style or something that he's doing. But I was really disappointed and quite relieved to get through it because it felt really hard to read. It's not been a good week this week, mate. Maybe I'm just too harsh.
Not for you.
Maybe I'm too harsh or I'm too truthful. I don't know. So I recommended this to you because Black Label books from DC are usually really, really good. I've yet to read a bad one, to be honest. So
I've only ever read The Boy Wonder, but I thought that was all right.
Yeah, well, check the others out. There's some really good ones. Yeah.
Okay. So Plastic Man No More, issue 1, published by DC, written by Christopher Cantwell with art and cover art by Alex Linz. I'm not familiar with either of these creators. And I'm not familiar with Plastic Man, really, apart from the cartoon when I was a kid.
Just why I thought it'd be fun for you, like introduce a new character into your, your world of comics.
Well, Plastic Man's always sort of been there, It's,
really,
I used to watch the cartoon as a kid, and he had a brief appearance in Absolute Power issue 2, where he immediately got depowered by an Amazo robot. So this is published on DC's Black Label imprint, which showcases more mature stories for their characters. We start off 20 years earlier with 2 common criminals, E.L. O'Brien and Woozy Winks, in the midst of a jewel shop robbery. And O'Brien is planning to steal a solar system themed watch, which has little gems as the planets in it. But when the crime starts, he's unable to find it. He's running out of time. They flee outside and they're apprehended by the cops who taunt O'Brien. Slippery as an eel, my ass. A quick montage then catches up with his origin as he's violating parole for the 17th time, getting out of jail during a plastic factory heist, as well as gaining a family in his wife Angel and his son Little Luke. And 20 years later, we pick up and he's part of the Justice League, and the Justice League are drawn in like this beautiful Saturday morning cartoon style with their hands on their hips. And
I know what you mean, little silhouettes.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Facing off against supervillain Solaris. As Plastic Man steps in, Solaris turns his death ray on him, and it sets his body ablaze, slightly melting him before Green Lantern and Hawkman subdue and capture the villain. The still melting Plaz quips, "I think I prefer myself more medium rare. I wish I'd worn a higher SPF," while the rest of the league chortle like it's the end of an episode of Super Friends. Although Plastic Man is clearly in pain and hurting, and he heads home after the caper to an empty apartment. I'm not quite sure where his family are at this point. He tries to use his stretching powers, only for bits of him to start melting and falling off like a plastic leper. Worried about this development, he returns to the Hall of Justice, only for the League to basically laugh and ignore him as they chat amongst themselves, all except for Detective Chimp, who turns out is used to being ignored by them too. He says he managed to talk to Batman, and Batman suggests seeing a petroleum chemist rather than a doctor, and he recommends one at Wayne Industries. I wonder why. The chemist, Vera, tells him he's depolymerizing, molecularly coming apart. Unfortunately, it's irreversible with no known cure, and it may have been sped up by the death ray, but it wasn't the original cause. He's dying. Back at home, Plaz pours his segments into buckets to preserve them, and we learn via flashback that although originally happy with his wife and son, the pressures of being on the Justice League led to spousal and parental neglect, and they left him years earlier. Now he's worried about his son Luke, who has similar powers and is on superhero team the Titans. Plaz now tracks down the 20-year-old Luke, explaining what's happened to him and begging him to get checked out before he succumbs to the same fate. The issue ends with chemist Vera receiving a late-night visit from a desperate Plastic Man, asking for her wildest theories that could cure him. She states that the polymers may be rebound permanently by a radical fusion reaction of incredible magnitude. And Plaz answers, "Oh, okay, cool. So we've got to build a huge nuclear bomb. Let's do that." And the issue ends. Yeah, I thought this was okay. I enjoyed it. I didn't think I would. Well done, Angelo.
It sounds a bit more comical than the other Black Label stuff. The other Black Label stuff, like I say, is a lot more gritty.
I think anything with Plastic Man in it is inherently going to be more comical.
Yeah, I guess so.
He
I
lends
guess so.
himself to that.
Well, I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Birds of Prey. I know. Every week I want to, instead of carrying on the whole arc of something, I want to put something new. But I love this book so much, so I had to review it all the way to the end of this arc. So, Birds of Prey 13, Kelly Thompson, she's doing a good job, and art by Gavin Guidry, I think. So, this is the last part of the pocket dimension hopping arc, which sees the whole team and Sella, the villain's sister, all tumbling through the last pocket portal into the spirit world. There's a mid-air battle with Maya, she's the villain, and they seem to be kicking her ass there. You know, they seem to feel like they're winning, but she reminds them it won't last long, and she's going to kill them because she has all the power in these pocket dimensions. However, she's in the spirit world, and so the spirits of her 4 sisters that she murdered are also there, and they want blood. Right, so if you're following it, you'll get all that. Anyway, Maya makes a run for it, but the team have to make sure that they keep up with her, because if she opens another portal and jumps out and the portal closes, they'll be trapped in the spirit world, right? And then all hell break loose and they're stuck. I'm sure Batman will figure out how to get them out. But anyway, that's not part of the story. I made that up. Overwhelmed by her sisters and the birds of prey, Maya decides to do this retreat. And she opens a portal like they expected to Earth. And they all throw it. And they're falling. And they land back on Earth, back in the room where the original portal they went through was based. Now, standing there, waiting for them is Hellblazer, Zealot, Xanthi Zhao, and the time-traveling Mia Mizoguchi. And they all get stuck in too. So there's a big brawl coming because she's a badass. Sella, Maya's only living sister, now she's wrestling with leaving her sister's spirits behind, but Batgirl talks to her and helps her cross the portal, and she eventually comes face to face with her sister Maya, while Hellblazer tries to work out some literal magic to defeat her. Now, Sella has this gun with her, and she starts shooting at Maya, but Maya shapeshifts into a hummingbird and seemingly escapes through the portal, which is a bit of a shame, right? Because, you know, she might come back and do some damage. Now, Canary wants to follow the through, and unanimously, all the other team members are like, no. But Hellblazer says, it's okay, because I've managed to, like, lowjack her and put some tracking type of spell on her. So if she ever tries to re-enter Earth through a portal, you'll know about it. So everyone decides to go home. Sella, now on Earth, goes off on her own, and Canary gets a text which hints at the next story arc. Surprise. It was fun, fast-paced as usual, absolutely beautiful art as usual, an expected finish. You know, not going to kill that villain off. It was a really cool villain. She looks cool. Not the strongest of arcs, I think, so far, but really, really enjoyable. I really recommend it, and I'm looking forward to the next one. I'm hooked on Birds of Prey now. You know, thank you, Kelly Thompson. I wouldn't have read it if Kelly Thompson hadn't hooked me in. So there you go, a positive book this week. So I'm going to press the button in a minute. I'm going to show another cover.
Mm-hmm.
The Exceptional X-Men. Now, Jim,
Mm-hmm.
the X-Men relaunch track record hasn't been too great.
It has not.
I am not going to force
There's
out
been
an
one
early
book
spoiler.
so far.
Yes.
There's been one book so far that I would call exceptional, and that's Uncanny X-Men issue 1, obviously.
All
But
right.
I haven't reviewed this yet, so let's go.
Hit me with it.
So, Exceptional X-Men issue 1, published by Marvel, written by Eve Al Ewing, with art and cover art by Carmen Canaro. And that is the most 90s cover you could think of.
Straight off the
It
TV.
just screamed 90s X-Men to me. But I don't think it's indicative of the story inside. So introduced way back during Chris Claremont and John Byrne's legendary run on Uncanny X-Men, Kitty Pryde's been a mainstay of X-Men stories ever since. The original protege of Logan and a firm fan favourite, she's even been name-checked in a Weezer song, and Joss Whedon has said that the Teen Mutant was his inspiration for Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Nice.
More recently, she reinvented herself during the Krakoan era, finding her phasing abilities clashing with the plant-based portals that the X-Men used. She became a pirate captain for the White Queen's Hellfire Corporation, selling Krakoan miracle drugs to the humans and changing her name to Kate Pryde, finally, in the excellent Marauders book. So as I said, this is post-Krakoa, and we pick up, and Kate is clearly scarred and hurt, but however that ended, I still don't know. I keep hitting a roadblock. There's a crossover that happens about a year away from the end of Krakoa, the AXE, Avengers, Eternals, X-Men, which I just can't get through. But one day I'll read the end of Krakoa and know what
And
happened.
there's a lot of it,
So
by the way. There's like an omnibus.
She's turned her way. She's turned her back on the X-Men, refusing to help Rogue's team in Uncanny X-Men issue 1, and moving back to her hometown of Chicago, scratching a living as a bartender at Lulu's Tavern, contending with a new kind of nightmare for her, a bottomless brunch. She's glum and keeping herself to herself. She steps out for a break and starts to think about all the "you have new gods now" is back to bite us hard. Xavier's gone, Krakoa's gone, and I kind of hate who I became. I don't like it, I don't like it, I don't like it. Starts having an anxiety attack, sitting down by a dumpster. She centers herself by listing 5 things you can see and 4 things you can hear. Rat, another rat, hot dog, bun, mustard. Is that 5 things? Rats fighting over a hot dog, 1 thing. Awesome, I'm cured. Anyway, back to work. Back behind the bar, she overhears 2 patrons having a discussion about the pros and cons of mutants and making nasty comments about an obvious mutant sitting near them. She doesn't speak up. When her shift ends, she returns to the apartment that she shares with her new flatmate, Pretty, the adorable corgi Mickey, short for Mikhail Baryshnikov, which I thought was quite funny. Kate that collapses on the sofa, doom scrolling through various mutant-influenced news reports while remembering that she has a date planned to see a reunion of her favourite high school band, Lauren Ipsum. She heads down to the venue, patiently waiting outside before realising she's been stood up. She mulls over messaging her date or asking Pretty for advice before noticing how surprisingly young the gig crowd is skewing. If you think that it's a band that's reforming. And then she comes to the conclusion she's actually there a day early. Her date and the show is tomorrow night when she has to work, so she can't see the show. Playing instead tonight is Bunny Starlight Dreams. I mean, it could be worse. It could be Dazzler, right?
No.
Kate decides that as tonight's already night off, she's going to do fun single girl things in the city. Woo! But as she's walking away, she notices that a teenage girl is being denied re-entry to the show by a doorman. Her friends who already got in have abandoned her, and the doorman shoves her, yelling, "Get moving!" And then it activates the girl's mutant powers, turning her skin to bronze. She screams back in his face, "Don't touch me!" Swatting him out of her way and sending him flying. Kate muses that her days of jumping into random fights in the street are over. Walking away until she hears the bystanders shouting, "Oh my God, he's got a gun!" She dashes back, grabbing the bulletproof teen and phasing them both through a wall into the music venue. Chaos then ensues as the security pursue them through the building. Kate phases them out the other side into her car and drives the girl home. The girl is embarrassed and mortified, saying everyone saw her become a metal monster and it was an accident, and now she's crying in front of a complete stranger. Kate tells her she's a mutant, not a monster, and it's something she should embrace. The 2 chat and bond on the way, with Kate telling her of her time with the X-Men. Before she leaves, she reveals that her name is Tristan Marshall, asking Kate hers. Kate hesitates a second before smiling. It's Kitty Pryde. The next morning, back at her apartment, Kitty opens a box that explodes in a shower of glitter, full of kawaii plushies, stationery, and apparel, with a note for Kitty, my hero, Mutant Pride. Kitty wears the cute smiling star earrings later to work, prompting her boss to comment, "A ray of sunshine from Miss Gloom." Kitty grins, "Don't tell anyone, I don't want to ruin my reputation." And the issue ends. But it's a fake out, stating, "LOL, JK." But then in the next scene, the issue ends for real, with the White Queen, Emma Frost, probing Kitty's mind, stating, "You can run away from the X-Men, Kitty, but you can't run from me." And the issue ends for real this time.
Mate, I'll be honest with you, I zoned out halfway through. It sounded like absolute trash.
This wasn't even as good as X-Men. And you know I've got a love-hate relationship with Jed McKay's X-Men.
My God. It's like the last teenage girl fan fiction.
Interesting things to come. All of the character development that Kitty had during the Krakoa era has just been thrown by the wayside. I don't understand. And yeah, Gail Simone just seems so far away now.
Oh my God. Yeah. You know what?
I just want good X-Men.
I have a feeling it's going to be like that. It just sounds, honestly, it's dog shit. It's more Marvel pandering to a very specific community.
I just want good X-Men stories. Is that too much to ask now? I don't know.
We'll just have to stick to Uncanny. All right, I guess that's the thumbs down from Jimbo. Right, Dawnrunner 5. Much like Birds of Prey, I had to take this one to its conclusion because it has been an absolute stellar read and has been a big one for me. And it was
the last
delayed.
issue.
Yeah, I know. I'll get to that. I'll tell you about that at the end of this review. Right, so Dark Horse, Ram V, and art by Evan Cagle, who is just supreme in this. We'll get to that. So, super quick recap. It's not super quick. It's quite long. A portal opened on Earth. Giant alien monsters called Tetsa came through. Humans fight them in giant exoskeleton mech suits. The portals had a big wall built around the area to contain the monsters, stop them escaping into the real world. The fights are broadcast by these very wealthy corporations that make the suits, and they make loads of money out. Pilots are celebrities, and lots of money is made off the back of all of this. So Anita, she's the hero of the story. She pilots the Dawnrunner, which is a new type of mech that has fused the brain of a dead soldier, Icaro, who died 100 years ago when the aliens first came to Earth through this giant portal. Anita and Icaro merge when piloting the Dawnrunner, and she gets to spectate his memories from the past where he's trying to save his children and his family, but they were actually killed when the Tetsa first came through. Also, Anita's young daughter is dying from an incurable Tetsa virus. Now, that's all super important because they tie everything together. It's really well done. So at the end of the last issue, Icaro hears the truth about his family dying. The Dawnrunner suit is down. It's completely down and out after fighting the Tetsa Prime, which is like the biggest Tetsa to ever come through the portal. It is huge. The rescue team are desperately trying to find Anita in the wreckage. But Anita and Icaro merge into something completely new. She's vanished. She's not there physically anymore. And the Dawnrunner itself is beyond repair. However, the Dawnrunner rumbles back into action to pursue Tetsa Prime because that Tetsa Prime is going to try and break through the containment wall and feed on the population. So, what a ride already, right? And that's just the recap, right? Oh, I haven't even got into it. Okay, so issue 5. The mech team and techs are monitoring Anita and the Dawnrunner, but they're in panic mode, right? They can't get Anita to respond, and they can't get her to physically confirm she's even in the suit. But they know she's in there, right? The Dawnrunner's self-healing capabilities are now going off the charts, right? And it's apparently similar to the way the Tetsa abilities work with their skin. But the suit has evolved. It's not just metal anymore, piloted by flesh and bone, right? As it appears in the sky, it looks so different. It's now biomechanical and looks extra triple badass, ready for war, and now has giant skeletal wings. It looks fucking awesome. I bet he had so much fun drawing that. So Tetsa Prime and the Dawnrunner, they face off again in another epic battle, right? And while this is happening, the techs discover that the monster's skin, flesh, whatever it's made of, is inelastic, and that if they find a way to stretch it, they might be able to cut through it and defeat the monster. But they can't get this information to Anita. They just can't contact. They don't know what's going on. So they send all the other mechs over there to try and help fight the Tetsa Prime. Now, Anita and Icaro, we skip to them discussing what's been happening, and Icaro wanted to save Anita and thank her for all the help that she selflessly gave him trying to find his family, which he knows now, died. So to repay her, he's taken her essence into his, and they form something else, something possibly monstrous even. So there's this sort of conversation that, maybe sometimes you need to turn yourself into something terrible to save what you can save. And he tells her that she may be able to return once this is all over, and that maybe humanity can maybe learn something from this, right? Because it's a mess. Maybe they could learn that there's something better out there. So the battle rages on. It's hard fought and very bloody. And as the spectators look on in horror and hope, the Dawnrunner emerges victorious, mate. It's glorious. But it's not over yet. The Tetsa Prime goes down, and all the other Tetsas start moving towards its corpse from all over this huge enclosure. But strangely, they're not aggressive. They stop being aggressive. It's really strange. They don't know what's going on. Now, I know, it's great. Andre Lester, now he's the head of the corporation that built and owns the Dawnrunner and the TV show that broadcasts battles across the world. He wants the Dawnrunner to return to base, but the team can't figure out how to recall it because it's evolved, right? It's something completely new. He's not happy about this. He's pretty pissed, and he wants them to run some like suspension protocols, you know, to try and force it to return to base. But Morali, who we met earlier on, who is one of the other members of one of the teams, he's the guy that worked with Anita to go back into the suit in her spare time and get to know Icaro and try and help him. He's overriding their attempts to do it because he wants to help Anita. Now, Andre orders all available mechs to retrieve the Dawnrunner by any means necessary. But these pilots who love celebrity and they love fame, they want to be number one, they've got a conscience and they say, you're going to have to get through us first. No one's getting to her. They're going to protect her. I know. I expected there to be something else. It's really, really good. I just love it. I love it. So we go back to Anita and she's pondering that the fact that we as humans, we not only fight monsters, but we create our own. And she feels deflated, but Icaro tells her she can at least try and win this fight with the Tetsa, right? And the Dawnrunner continues to climb over the wall that's protecting the population from the monsters and makes its way to the hospital where Anita's daughter is dying. So this is where Anita starts narrating again, and it informs us that shortly after the Dawnrunner climbed over the wall and got to the hospital, Icaro took over. He took back control as they got over the wall. And he put her back together and returned her to her physical form, which is really cool. Once she was awake, she tells us the doctors say that he took her daughter. You know, I'm getting emotional. I was near tears at this point. He took her dying daughter, right? He took her lifeless body, like, into his heart and saved her life. The doctors can't explain it. They just don't know what happened, how it happened, but he saves her life. And Anita tells us that her daughter doesn't remember much other than she remembered briefly meeting Icaro and hugging him and watching him walk away into the shadows, never to be seen again. Honestly, mate, this really tugged at my heartstrings. You know, honestly, It was so good. I know. And let me jump to this one-page epilogue that tells us that there were no traces left of Icaro in the sort of AI suit of the Dawnrunner, right? He's gone from her, but he lives on in her and her daughter's memories, echoing the save what you can sentiment from earlier on. Andre Leston has been fired by the board after Morali leaked all the internal communications that, you know, detail his whole mishandling of this affair and the piece of shit that he is. And as for the Tetsa, they just stopped coming through the portal at that point. And Morali theorized that this is because the monsters succeeded in their mission, which was to force the human race into techno-evolution. Right? So, this was one of the best books out there. I loved every single page. Evan Cagle's art is incredible. It brought the book to life. Honestly, it's so visceral. I cannot recommend it enough. It is 100% one of the best books out there from me. I keep saying it, but I do have one little gripe. I think Ram V rushed the ending. This could have easily been a 12-issue series or even an ongoing.
I was shocked when you said it was the last issue.
I know. I only found out at the end of this issue. So if you ever see this, Mr. Ram V, we want more. We want more. This should have been ongoing or at least 12-issue like maxi series. There is one silver lining though. They're on New Gods. And with that writing ability and that art to look forward to, I am all over it. So that's my only gripe. And it's not a gripe that this is the book in any way. I just wanted more of it. It was such a beautiful, amazing story. So that leads on to book of the week. That should have been Which is now. What's your book of the week?
My book of the week this week is Animal Pound issue 5. Knocked it out of the park, Tom King.
Amazing. Mine.
I'm sorry I ever said anything against you.
Should have been. Sorry, I've lost my track here. I'm still thinking about this Dawnrunner. Honestly, I want to talk more about it. Right, like it is so good. It's like it's so new, it's so fresh. The art style's amazing. Like why did they cut this short? Why? I just want more.
Yeah.
It's my book of the week now. It's my book of the
I
week.
felt
book
the
of week.
same with Masterpiece as well, man. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So good. So what are we looking forward to next week? What about you?
Wow. DC used to publish a book called The All Winners Squad, and I think that kind of sums up what my week is like next week, because all 4 books have previously been book of the week. I never expected this to happen, but Transformers, Uncanny X-Men, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Into the Unbeing all drop on the same week. So I'm going to review all of them.
You know what? It might be a mega episode because you know what, Jimbo? I've got Gatchaman 3, which you may have heard I love. Gatchaman.
You might have
You hear
mentioned
it. You're going to hear it every episode. Time Waits is a new #1 that sounds amazing. The Power Fantasy #2's out, which was brilliant first issue.
Oh, no
Wolverine #1 relaunches, and as we said, we've got Uncanny X-Men 2. It's a mega week. I've got a feeling that this terrible week, right, is going to be it's going to be that bridge week to next week, which is going to be absolutely galactic. So that's it for the show. Let us know what you think. Say goodbye, Jim.
Bye-bye, everybody.
And I'll see you next week too. Goodbye.